Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is my first webinar back behind the scenes for you guys because we have some amazing panelists that are going to be here speaking to you today. But I just wanted to open up this webinar with some housekeeping. I'm Callie Isley Tracy, by the way. I'm the marketing manager at Brandwise. So just to confirm that you guys can hear us okay, I'm joining you guys from cloudy Denver, Colorado. I have Miles in tow. And I'm wanting to make sure that you guys can hear all of the amazing content that our panelists are going to share with you today. So on the screen, you're going to be able to see this little notification that's going to walk you through how to select your audio options. So please be sure to select that so that you can hear everything that we have to share with you today. You can join via your computer audio or phone, depending on what's going to work better for you. Just to confirm that you can hear us okay, please feel free to go into the comments. I see some of you guys have been here before, so thank you guys for the warm welcome back. I know, Cindy, you're having some beautiful weather in Dallas, so great to hear. Anyone else who's here, we have almost 100 attendees here on the call. Where are you joining us from, and can you hear us okay? I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Ari to get a formal introduction going, but thank you guys for being here.
Well, hello, everyone. So very excited to be here today. Oh, Callie, you can drop that the intro screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ari Lowenstein. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Brandwise, and as I'm very lucky to have a really talented panel roundtable here today to talk about kind of what's happening in the industry, what's changed, what hasn't, what new techniques, what new tools have been discovered and are being used. I was talking with the panel a few minutes ago, and what's so exciting, Sandy, we're going to go ahead and mute you because your call is going to be heard. So hold on one second here. Let's just do that. Okay, so we have a great panel today. We have Michelle Morgan from Just Gotta Have It. We have Kim Pounds from Next Gen. We have Cliff Price from Cliff Price. We have Dennis Nemchek from DNA Sales, and we have Sandy Shea from Shea Associates. And what I asked everyone, we saw the questions on the invite, but the big question was, what's new about your business? What's changed about the workflow? What is it that we're looking forward to? And there are real gems out there, which is so exciting. Everyone has new tools that they didn't have before, which I'm really not surprised about. So we're going to start off with Kim Pounds from Next Gen. Kim, before I hit you with my first question, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your agency?
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm definitely the new kid on the block with Brandwise, so I appreciate the invitation to be here, Ari. Thank you. I'm not new to the industry. This is Next Gen Dallas is a second generation business. Been around for 45 years, and we operate in the Dallas Market Center. Represent about 32 brands, 34 lines, 32 different companies, and really, have weathered the storm just like everybody else. I think from my perspective, when you ask what has changed, I have to say it's somewhat philosophical. I truly believe that we as an industry have proven ourselves to be scrappers. If you would have talked to all of us a year ago, we probably wouldn't have smiles on our faces. There was a different feeling, and really even back further than that, you could hear trepidation in speech. You could hear concern. You could hear worry sometimes. And I think this past year has proven that we are here to stay. I believe that we now feel our communities want us. Our communities want that small independent brick and mortar store. It is important to that community. Not everyone wants to shop online all the time. Not everyone wants to, be an A-list Amazon customer. Our end consumer, our 30 to 60-year-old female that buys the product that we sell, she still loves to shop, and she loves to shop in stores. And our retailers I feel like that they have a spring in their step. They have a belief in what they're doing. They are committed to buying product. And we all know what we're struggling with right now. But for me, I feel like when you ask what has changed, I do feel like it's a belief system. We've had an elevated belief system in what we do. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
What are the biggest challenges right now?
The biggest challenges right now are keeping keeping product flowing. And we're all experiencing the same thing with the international freight issues. The end consumer is wanting to consume, and stores didn't know, many retailers didn't know the robust level they would be operating at in May when they started the year out. And so I think everybody has kind of been chasing it somewhat. We've been trying to catch up because it came back with a vengeance.
How are you, in terms of keeping stock or doing that, how are you working with your suppliers and your reps and your retailers? What's the strategy for how you're trying to keep that flowing?
One of the things that we've done as an agency, and it's proven to be so successful, and this is vendor specific. Some vendors can offer this for us. They can give us this transparency and this information, and some can't. But we've had multiple vendors give us lists with images, everything that we can, an actionable, workable document that we can get to stores of their top 100 or 200, whatever the quantity is, their top items that are actually available to ship. It might not be their best-selling items overall, but these are their best-selling items that can ship right now. And when we're working with a retailer that, they're desperate for product, it's great for us to be able to say, hey, this is what we can give you right at this moment. And it's been a catalyst for us riding some immediate business. And then we're booking the best-selling items in addition to that.
Excellent. Yeah, on a roundtable I was on yesterday, one of the suppliers said that they actually cut some of their best-selling product out of their catalog so that the reps could focus on selling what's there. And then in October, they're going to say back by popular demand. But they said, we have 100 different ones. If we don't have blue, they'll sell green. But just give the focus, right? Make sure that they're selling that because there's enough choice. And then they can say back by popular demand when the product comes in October. But in the meantime, they've gotten a couple of turns in. So I think that's
absolutely
a great strategy. One other piece that came up in the conversation that I thought was so interesting and really is a result of COVID. Tell me about the technology that you're using in your showroom, that what you referred to as old technology that's being used now, because I thought this was fascinating.
Well, what's old is new, right? We internally in our marketing team a year or so ago, we had talked about QR codes. And I remember my marketing manager, who is a brilliant 20-something, said, "Oh, Kim, QR codes those are of the past. We would never use those." And COVID did bring that back to all of our lives. And so they're so simple. QR codes are so simple. And so we've developed QR codes that we use. We added in our mailer. We used it on our signs in our showroom. We have it on our new business cards. Everything. There's so much information that someone can just readily, easily scan with their phone, and they're so used to it now. They don't even think about it.
Tell us why it came back.
It came back because of COVID, because we all went back to the restaurants, and
because of the restaurants and the menus.
Absolutely. You sit down and you don't expect for a menu now. You're looking for where's the QR code.
Where's the QR code? Right.
Absolutely.
It got everyone using them.
They are. They're simple. They're inexpensive, and a customer sees that on a sign, and they know that they can scan that, and they're not going to have to come back to that sign and remember in the showroom, okay, what's the minimum? What's all that? I know I can scan that. It's on my phone, and I can walk around and place an order. So, old technology has been new for us.
what I think is, and throughout the conversation today, adoption of technology and how reps are using it, suppliers are using it, particularly how retailers are using it, and there's different reasons why. This one is just this fascinating little piece.
Yeah.
Now the menu's on a QR code. You go to a restaurant, you want to eat, you got to scan it, and then you have the menu. Now that means that every one of those consumers who are now buyers, they know how to use it. So that's very cool.
100%.
I have a question, Ari, about that, because one of our reps asked us if they could have a QR code on their business card. Do you do that as well, Kim? Does each rep
Yes.
have a QR code?
Yes, but it is not specific to that rep. It's about the company.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we are actually doing those right now. We did not have QR codes on our business cards in January, but we are going into the summer. We've added those, and it's just, you know, you get a menu, a quote menu, not from a restaurant, but a menu on your QR code. And we're not making those rep specific at this point. We're making them about the company. The business card is rep specific, however.
But you can. The great thing about a QR code is
You
you
could.
can direct them anyway. So if you wanted to, at stage one, you could put a different QR code in everyone's business card
Absolutely.
and have it all linked back to the same place. And when you have individual content, just switch it.
And we have multiple QR codes that we use. Like one that we have is directing, they can scan it and immediately go link to all of our social media accounts. So, you know, it's simple.
Yeah, and it's directly tied to COVID.
100%.
To what happened,
Yep.
which is so interesting.
It
Okay,
is.
so now we're going to pivot to talking specifically about sales reps and about how they're using, you know, kind of a combination of technologies. So, Sandy, are you with us?
I'm with you,
Hello, Sandy.
finally, after a rough start.
Okay. Well, you were there, and then you know, this is Murphy's Law, right? And
I couldn't see anything, so
It's okay. So, welcome, Sandy. Sandy Shea Associates, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your agency, where you are, what you do?
yeah, we're in New England and upstate New York, and we've been around since I established the company. I started the company in 1988, and we have 9 reps, and we have a small showroom up in the main marketplace, it's called. And I got some great reps, and we sell a lot of stuff on the road.
I know many of them, and you certainly do. So, Sandy and I had a great conversation. We talked about a lot of specifics of different things that are happening. And in the conversation, it came out, we started talking about 3 of her salespeople and how their workflow, this is when we got to the question about workflow, is really different. And in particular, how the technology has actually played a part of that. So, Sandy, if you could tell us a little bit about the 3 reps and kind of and give us the meat of those differences.
Well, my main rep,
As in
meaning
the
the state of
state,
Maine.
not your business.
Not my main rep. But it seemed like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont was less affected by COVID for as long a period of time. It was affected, of course, but in the early months, like we all went through that when March 14th hit, right? And the whole world fell apart, and you know, you had $300,000 worth of canceled orders in one day or something. So, after the initial shock, it was like, how are we going to write business, and how are the stores going to continue, and what can we do to support them? And I feel that once things started after, say at the end of May, when things were opening up in June 1st, things were looking up a bit, especially in like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. But when things closed down, my rep in Maine felt that the Maine showroom really worked for her more. That people didn't want to travel. They didn't want to go to New York, although the stuff was canceled too in Atlanta and stuff. So she social distanced in her showroom and did it by appointment only. And she was able to get business written, you know, that way too, you know. And so in the stores, we also found the stores were scrambling to get up new websites if they didn't have a website, if they didn't have a way of ordering on social media. And they, a lot of them went on Instagram, had more of an Instagram presence, a Facebook, FaceTime presence, and also updated their internet during the time that they were closed, and was really pushing the curbside pickup.
Sure.
And the shipping the orders.
You had mentioned that Marilyn, your main rep, so she was able to keep kind of having appointments throughout. So
Right, right.
So she's still on the road
She
relatively.
continued, yeah,
right?
she continued back on the road, you know, and focusing on, you know, just getting out there. She didn't do any overnight stays, but she was reaching out to her customers and had appointments.
And had appointments.
And she's been, yeah, she had appointments. I think she had I think with her location and the fact that she was really seasoned and she has a lot of great relationships, selling on the road for me for about 15, 16 years at this point, that she managed to be able to.
And that brings us then to Jackie. So the rep that was, so Marilyn could get appointments. Jackie was having a harder time. So tell us about what Jackie's been doing. I found this.
So Jackie, you know, right now Marilyn is working at that. She has 2 appointments a day and then we'll do 3 stop-ins. She's great at like making the cold calls, stopping into people, seeing how they're doing.
Sure.
But Jackie was having a heck of a time. She has not a great territory. She has Western Mass, Central Massachusetts. Massachusetts was closed down very hard and very strong. And even now she's just having a hard time. So she just goes out on the road and she'll drive for 2 hours, go out to Western Mass. She'll stop into stores. She'll leave catalogs. She'll chat it up with them. She'll do inventories. And it's working for her. You know, it's working for her. And
in what way? Why is it working for her?
She's, you know, a lot of the people are saying, hey, you're here. Why don't we write something now? You know, why don't we take a look at what you have? Or she'll drive home the back 2 hours home and she'll look at her, you know, her computer and stuff and realize, you know, the people that she dropped off the catalogs to are, have written a couple of orders for her, you know, and they're writing either through Reach or because she left the catalog, they're emailing her something, hey, I could use this and that type of stuff. So that's working for her.
She's using the in-person to prime the pump.
Right.
To get it started. So we with Sandy and I talked about this kind of.
And they're both using Zoom. I mean, I think Zoom's going to be a factor.
Sure.
For them for a long time.
Well, it creates this opportunity, right? You can still show and tell. But the story when you're telling me about Jackie, she'll stop into 7 or 8 stores. Maybe she writes some orders, but she gets the FaceTime. They saw that she was there. She does an inventory, saying,
and they don't forget you know what I mean? They know that you're there. They know that you're trying, you know, you're trying to connect. What do you need? Yeah.
And then they're doing the sales. So what I found interesting there is that the hybrid is, okay, I can't get the appointment for whatever reason in my territory. No one wants to commit to 2 hours. No one, you know, knows that they can dedicate that time. But she's stopping in, getting that interaction, and then that's priming the business for the remote work that you need.
Right.
So now let's talk about Mary Beth, because she's at the other end of the spectrum.
She's on Cape Cod and the islands and South Shore. And she's doing a lot of Zoom and a lot of that and a lot of like going to see her key accounts and doing Zoom with her key accounts.
A accounts. The biggest stores.
Not key accounts, the way it's sent in the traditional word. But her A accounts, and she's not so much, she's really doing it more with Reach, going to see certain people that she knows that need to be seen, the A people, and Zoom. And then there's no time restriction on the Zoom really if you have
because she can go from one to one.
A lot of
the way you described it to me is almost like the Naomi Campbell. She wouldn't get out of bed for less than $10,000.
Right. She's not going to run around. Yeah. She doesn't feel like her time and driving around. It's a large territory she has.
Right. And also she has to get on ferries to go to some of it and drive all the way to Cape Cod is deceptively long. So but that kind of those 3 reps were kind of a study in a spectrum, right, between how much in person versus how much technology. You know, it kind of, you know, as we go from beginning to end, it was much more in person with using technology to help. Then there's the middle, and then there's Mary Beth, who is doing great business, but says,
Right.
I can talk to 40 customers in a day if I'm not
Right.
out on the road, but I go out on the road when I need to. And I think that's a great, study in contrast.
Yeah. I mean, they all kind of, they're doing their own thing. They're getting business. Really, our business is up to the level of like pre-COVID at this point. I mean, and Kim, when she had mentioned that that the factories are having a difficult time with shipping and with containers and with the whole thing in the imports, that it's a good idea. Like, we have to support our vendors, and we have to be able to be willing to sell stuff that they have in stock, So I think that's an
Yep,
important thing.
that's key. All right, well, thanks for sharing such intimate details about your 3 reps. They're all doing really well. I won't
Yeah.
ask Sandy to repeat them now, but I asked her numbers, and they're all doing really well. So it's
Yeah, they are.
So it's 3 very different ways of working, and they're all working, and they're all using technology in different ways, which I think is great. Okay, so any questions for Sandy? Okay, there might be some that come in through the chat, which we'll get to at the end. But now we're going to go to Cliff Price, whose agency is named Cliff Price, and he's Cliff Price there in the corner of my screen. So Cliff, tell us a bit about yourself and your agency.
Okay, we're based in the Dallas Trade Mart. Our 18 reps cover the great state of Texas and all the surrounding states. We have 35 lines, and we've been in the building for about 26 years now. It's been obviously a very interesting year plus, but I'm happy to say that our team's really held together, work with our vendors, work with our stores, and really I feel like we're in great shape heading into the future.
Which is in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
It's in a few weeks.
Everybody come to Dallas.
That's it. So when I was running through the questions that I'd kind of prepared as starting points with Cliff, he was ready to talk about any of them. Actually, everybody was. But one of the areas that we got to pretty quickly was the question about new categories. Now, throughout COVID, Brandwise hosted and other people hosted were roundtables and webinars and discussion groups about what was happening. And for sure, hardware stores and supermarkets and pharmacies were some of the only places that were allowed to be open in a lot of states, right? Because they were essential. Now that's changed. All categories of stores can be open, so that's not a question anymore. I apologize. Leo's a loud drinker. But with Cliff, we got to this pretty quickly and focused in on a category. So tell me about what's the big new category for you in terms of retailers?
I think the big thing that we saw over the last year is the additional business we've been able to find with the boutiques and lifestyle stores. The boutiques, of course, we called on them in the past, but I got to say, they seem to have really weathered the storm very well. They're young, they're hip, they do a combination of lots of different products. The one thing that we have seen over the last few years is the lines of retail have blurred. It's no longer a gift store, it's no longer an apparel store or shoe store. They're all kind of doing a little bit of everything. But the people that are winning are the ones that are doing social media and really promoting their stores and finding a way to do live events. And I know we've had stores come into our showroom and do events here, and it's really fascinating to watch. And some of them are a little hokey and fun, but it's just really exciting to see the energy and people finding new ways to drive business. And our reps had to find new ways to get to stores, and our stores had to find new ways to do business. And that's the big thing that's changed, really for the better of the industry.
So boutiques, you're specifically talking about apparel boutiques and let's say women's boutiques, right? If we narrow it down, is that a fair statement? Yeah. So so to Kim's point, the 30 to 60-year-old woman, she's going out, she wants an outfit. It's not just about what she wears when she goes to work. At this point, it might be what she's wearing when she goes to take a walk, because she's walking around the neighborhood seeing the same people, and that's who she's maybe dressing up for herself, for partner, for her family, for getting on a Zoom call, right? You know, I haven't worn the shirt in a few years. I put it on for all of you today. I hope you like it. But that phenomenon of the boutiques is interesting. It's a different core business. So your buyers, how do they look at the gift product? So, you know, apparel, they have to have multiple sizes. They have to have the latest trend. They have to have multiple colors. They have to have, you know, all of that is inherent in apparel. How do they look at gift?
I think they look at gift as a way to bring in fresh new things to the store. I mean, I think with the boutique, it's about the experience. And as Kim said, you know, our customer loves to shop. And anything the store can do to add that freshness, the new, always something new that they find every time they're in the store, it helps drive their business.
Years ago, I had a company out of Italy, and I sold these little art cubes. And there was a women's boutique in North Carolina with this fabulous woman who used to come to the New York Gift Show. She had flowing things all over the place. And she'd buy a ton of these cubes. And I finally said, what are you doing with them? And she said, well, sugar, the wife comes home with 4 bags of shopping and says, honey, look what I bought for you. And so it was that extra gift to give to her partner when she came home. But I think the gift is, what's great about it is it's not going to cannibalize. If a woman's going in to pick out an outfit at a certain point, there's enough of a selection. But the giftware, I think, is that plus business as well. Which doesn't require the same refolding of the shirts, and it doesn't require having 10 sizes. It can sit on the shelf and pretty much sell itself. It doesn't require the expert salesperson who can put on an ensemble, put together an ensemble. It's just there, and the packaging and the gift is all that. So I think that that's also, it's akin to selling gifts at places like coffee shops. Right? They have to prepare the coffee, where this is just a product that's sitting there. So I think that that is also interesting. Are you actually looking for lines now to meet that for those customers?
I mean, I think we've seen such a surge in that category, and some of that has been fueled here in Dallas by the apparel business based here, and the addition of the Western show has really changed the market. And I think one of the things we saw at the March show, which typically is not a huge event for us, I mean, it was really off the charts good. And I think, Kim, I see you shaking your head. I mean, you experienced the same thing, and it was you know, we saw so much more kind of a trade. Those categories just kind of blended into the building, and it just added so much more traffic. So that was exciting to see.
It's very cool, and it's very cool because new categories. This is new business, right? For everybody. This is us selling, you know, the gift industry, home industry, selling into categories that, you know, were more happenstance than an actual strategy. Are your reps seeking them out now? Have they gone that last piece to actually? Apparel, the boutiques might have found you. Are they going out to find them?
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the things that's unique about that category is they're able to find them in different ways. They go and follow them on social media and seek them out through different ways. I mean, you know, all that's changed now. You're not going, you know, to the phone book anymore or going to a Google search. You're finding those top stores on social media. And that, you know, that if they have a good presence in social media, you know, they're a player and they drive business. So those are the stores that we're really seeking out now.
So fascinating that, you know, sure, 2 years ago we were talking about how important social media was, you know, and Crystal would be, you know, fighting the good fight, you know, Crystal, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, so I won't say it, from Crystal Media, saying social media. Well, now here we have reps that are actually evaluating the opportunity of a store based on their social media, not just because they're a first adopter or because they've done, you know, more with it. It's actually a way to measure it, which is, you know, that certainly is a COVID reaction. Certainly there were stores that were there that were doing it before, but now if it's actually a way to evaluate, you know, the strength of a retailer, that's fantastic and convenient and efficient, and you can do it from, you know, wherever you are. One other question for Cliff, and it's a follow-up question. we talked a little bit about some of your reps have very large territories, like West Texas, which is much bigger than Sandy's entire territory, all of her states put together. So, and one rep covers it and drives 3 hours to get to a store. So in specific, there was one particular piece when it came to the workflow with new releases. Talk to me a little bit about that and your reps and kind of how that's a study in contrast.
Well, I think, when one of the things that's changed, everyone's learned how to use Zoom and do, in showroom presentations and all that. But as we get these larger releases that are critical or, time sensitive, and you have a large territory such as West Texas, you can't get through the territory in, kind of the 8-week windows, which is kind of typical working through a territory. You've got to find ways to get to all those people quickly. And, using Zoom and other ways in between appointments is the perfect way to connect with those stores and capture more business quickly. And I think that's the one thing that's changed. Before, the pandemic, we didn't do that. And we learned how to use it. And now it's enabled us, now that everybody's back, we're capturing more business quicker as we get these new releases or getting a new vendor or something else.
And in parallel with that, the retailers are using the technology, right? Where before they might have just been sitting there waiting for you to get to them. Now, for a whole bunch of reasons, they're now using it. So when you reach out to them in that way, they're going to be more receptive because they're not just waiting for someone to walk in the door, because this is how they're working, which is, other industries were ahead of us in this. This has been, someone said in a call, we've done 5 years in 1 year, which I think is quite accurate. And we might not have even gotten there in 5 years.
Yeah, 6 months yet.
Right. Okay, excellent. Any questions for Cliff?
Kim?
Thank you.
There you are. Yep, you're there. Go ahead, Kim. Oh, what's happening?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is really for Cliff and Sandy. It sounds like both of y'all have reps that really have adapted Zoom. Have any of your reps had a multiple customer Zoom call where they don't have competitive customers, but they're showing the same product line to multiple customers at the same time, and kind of did a group, so to speak, or has it been one-on-one?
Most of ours have been one-on-one. I think that's okay. Really a brilliant idea, Kim, because it would allow you to hit more people in a tight time frame if they're in towns that are really spread out. They would, and they can collaborate on ideas on how to present the product at the store level.
Okay.
What we've also seen across
I'm writing that one down.
What we've also seen across the industry is the reps that have successfully created their own Facebook groups with their retailers. So, and when they do that, they're able to speak. Yeah, they're able to speak. They'll always say, "Here's a video, and here's the thing. We're talking about this," and they get it out to all of them, at once. I think the live part is great, especially if you can tap into those. You find those groups of retailers that actually go to market together, one's from here and one's from here, but they meet and they go together. They like interacting with each other at market. What do you think of this, right? And there's a whole social aspect. It might be interesting to say to the buyer, do you have any friends you want to invite? Because then it becomes a group piece, and then you get that, that same, feeling. And a lot of retailers do know someone. Might be someone from, wherever, but they meet at market, and they go around together, and one's in, Albuquerque, and one's in Santa Fe, and they're happy to go to market together.
Can I add something to that, Ari?
Sure.
One of the things that our reps have done is they recorded their presentation, and then they just emailed the link out to their customers. So that way, then they can sort of generalize that presentation and get the word out there to maximize their efficiency with that. Yep. And that's worked really well.
And they can be more targeted than they can in their Facebook group. because then they're giving content to that store that they know works for that store, as opposed to, all 120 of their stores who are, might look at a video that has nothing to do with them, right? Because the product line isn't good. So I like that. I like that also. Okay, so now we're going to talk to Michelle Ruby Morgan from Just Gotta Have It. Our conversation went in a lot of different ways, and we talked a bit about inventory. We talked kind of about a lot of different things, but then we got to something that I thought was so fascinating. And I've been using that word a lot, but that's because every time I talk to rep principals, I realize how little I know. But the conversation came to working with key accounts. And all agencies work with some form of a key account. All suppliers on the call are interested in working with key accounts. And an interesting phenomenon obviously is happening because of inventory. So Michelle, if you could talk with us a little bit, first of all, introduce yourself and your agency, which is big. And then we'll dive into this question of key accounts. So tell us a bit about you and your agency.
So we are 21 years old, 2021. I kind of skipped 2020. So we're a 21-year-old agency. We have showrooms in Atlanta and in Las Vegas. And then we just cover different territories across the US. So we're coast to coast, but we don't cover everything. And no, we're not going to open a showroom in Dallas. So just take that off the list. We have 61 reps, and wow, here, hats off to the reps who survived 2020, because it was quite a year. And I think after we all just, got over the initial shock, we pulled up our pants and got to work, and that was something to see for sure. And yes, Ari, we spoke about that. I think we spent most of our call catching up on life in general, which I totally enjoyed. And we have to do that more often.
Janetta are on this call. You just got so much trouble now.
So, so we did talk about key accounts, and I think you were most interested in knowing that a lot of the, not a lot, there are certain key accounts that we work with who are now looking at taking domestic stock instead of importing. And I think that they're, obviously they're doing that because the shipping is so unknown right now, and you can't really count on anything. And things that you thought you could count on, all of a sudden you're paying 5 times the amount of money for. So those key account buyers are now, talking to the reps who they have long-standing relationships with, and they're trying to figure out a program for at-once product, and it's really been beneficial for us for sure. They're still planning 2 years out or a year out, but they're wanting to use sources here, and the vendors are actually it's working both ways, because the vendors are obviously able to get things in and plan better if they know. But a lot of times, if you take away the ticketing and the freight and the duties and the testing and all of that stuff, it ends up being better for the vendor. So.
And probably there's not the same expectation in terms of points. I don't know, but it changes the conversation, right? Because it's not being made to order. It's already here.
Well, yeah, and you're not getting beat up as much as you normally would, right? Because they can't. And I also want to follow up on Cliff's conversation with you, because we are seeing one of the ways that some of the new outlets that we definitely found that worked for us was not new, but newer, was Garden was definitely an outlet for us that we focused on because they were essential, so they were open, and grocery. And we've grown our grocery business like crazy. So, don't forget about those little grocery stores that are in the neighborhoods, and really, work with them, because they found that they had that customer that was coming in and looking for general gift. And so they're carrying a lot more than they used to. And then I also want to talk about the Facebook Live. There's so much to talk about. So the Facebook Live customers that are coming in, who are these people? We've never even seen them before, right? And they were, they were MLM people who were selling clothing. So they had all of these followers, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers on their social network, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they're no longer selling those clothing items. So they've got this audience that they need to sell to, and they're looking for new things to sell to them. So yeah, we've opened our showroom. We have Facebook Livers coming in at 8, 9 o'clock at night, because that's the sweet spot for their shoppers, after the kids are in bed, and so they're coming in our showroom and they're selling stuff, and it has to, it has to be in stock, and they need it quickly because they're turning around and shipping it back out to these people. I had no idea these people were out there, and it is a lot of business. So reps need to seek that out in their territories and find these people and sell like crazy to them. We have a rep who is participating, like the Facebook Live customer has brought the rep on, and the rep is selling, some of the lines. I mean, there are rules as far as some people are like, if you don't have a brick and mortar store, you can't sell, some vendors, and, it gets a little crazy. You gotta, watch, where they're located and what the boutique is in their town. But I promise you, it's a total different consumer.
That's wild. Through all of those, the garden center, that whole industry, it's like people just discovered their backyards, right? It's like home.
Yeah.
And so the garden center and the garden centers are doing extraordinarily well and relative to the online sales of those products, because people actually, it's a place they could go. Now they feel comfortable. Now they know where the garden center is in their neighborhood, which they hadn't been to. Maybe they were going to buy whatever it is online, but I get to go in my car and I get to go somewhere and I get to make choices, and I get to Kim's point, I get to go back out and go to retail. And while they're there, they're going to keep a certain percentage of that business. The supermarkets are going to keep a certain percentage. Supermarkets work on a 10 to 15% margin for their food. Gift products are, they sell one puzzle. It's like selling 10 gallons of milk, right? So they're thrilled, and it's not going to go bad. So I think a lot of those are
the margins are so much better. Margins are so much better. I mean, people were, spending so much time at home. Obviously that category is on fire. Spending time outside, grilling out at night, or being with their families, couldn't go out to dinner. So, oh yeah, let's fix up our backyard, and now they like their backyard.
Yeah.
So
now they want to spend time in it. So one last piece, when we were talking before we started, I mentioned the roundtable that I did yesterday at GHTA. Tell me what your rep in Arizona is up to. Tell us
oh my God. So, I was a rep once, and what an amazing opportunity, because what they've done is, and this is happening in other places, but specifically in Arizona, there's, a certain group of reps, and they've gotten together and they're doing these shows, and they're doing them, maybe quarterly. And vendors
I've done 4 already. Yeah.
4? Okay, you know more about it than I do.
Well, no, they've already done 4, but go ahead.
Well, this year?
Not since it started.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, since I started, yes, exactly. So vendors are sending in samples, and they are just they're going and they're getting a hotel, like a ballroom, and they're setting everything up, and customers are coming, and they're communicating about the customers that are coming. So, if the, say, Ivy Stone rep has an appointment, but the Just Gotta Have It rep doesn't have that appointment with that person, they're like, hey, I just made an appointment with so-and-so, make sure you contact her, or, get her on your calendar. They're sharing information. I never thought I would see that ever. And so instead of being competitors, they're working together, and it's awesome. And we did that, Just Gotta Have It, and Ivy Stone, and Kimberly Wahlberg, and we all did that in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, because shows were canceled. And so we took the show to them, and then, we had to deal with weather and, a million different things. However, those customers that came were so grateful and so thankful that we did that for them. They will be lifelong customers no matter what, and they won't forget that we did that for them.
It's very cool. And it brings us to very neatly to Dennis. Because Dennis and I talked for a while. I've admired Dennis from afar, but our conversations have usually been just social. We haven't ever been able to talk much about business together. So I got him all to myself for about half an hour, which was fantastic. And we talked about a lot of different areas, but there's two in particular that I think are quite fascinating. And I'm going to start with that meatiest one first. So Dennis, tell us a little about yourself, and then I want you to, if you don't mind sharing the strategy that you've implemented with your sales reps.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. It's definitely a privilege. No doubt, COVID has changed everything about us in the world. As I keep saying this, it's sped everything up tremendously. Last year, a couple of months ago from this time, we were all looking at what do we do next? And I can remember doing the Zoom call with our reps in the middle of March, and really, quite frankly, talking to them saying, listen, this is the moment that's going to define us. This is the moment that's going to make the difference of where we are as a company, but also to where you are as an individual, along with how you're interacting with your customers. And, it's funny because I think of COVID and I think of all the things that we did through it, with watching the Tiger King, or watching, like I watched Schitt's Creek, and that's where I got this mug, Ooh, David, which I stole from my girlfriend. But, I look at it as, I'm a 35-year-old business. I started a company when, I was 23 years old, not having a clue. I still don't have a clue what I'm doing. Yet I've been fortunate to be around people that have just given me great ideas. My girlfriend's mother was using Zoom for her Weight Watchers groups, and she showed me how easy it was. And so we started implementing this program, with our sales reps. And I'm glad to hear that Sandy talked about it with her reps using it out in the field, and Cliff and Michelle and Kim. We're all using technology so much different than we used to. Yet there are a lot of things that, as Kim talked about, with QR codes. I really wrote them off too, Kim. And I really looked at it as, well, that's old technology. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm going to a restaurant going, oh, my phone actually scans the QR code. I didn't even know it did it. So, I had to, and then one of the things I was doing during the call when Kim was talking, I was looking on my phone, okay, what was the app that I used, QR generator, because there are different apps out there, and I think it's what would be super important to share for that, because that is something that can be done. But then also to, COVID, the big thing about COVID that I felt was really important is relationships. We are relationship bound. And, while we are all separated from people, we needed to learn to make connections, make touches, and really connect with people. So one of the things we did as the year progressed, we noticed taking place is those relationships that were most important kept growing. So we really talked about the 30, 60, 90 program inside our company, and we broke it down to the 80-20 rule. 80% of the business comes from 20% of your accounts. And then if you expand it further, 95% of the business is really coming from maybe 25 to 30% of your accounts. So breaking it out, we just did sales analysis in Brandwise. We looked at the customer base for each rep, and we basically gave them, here are your top 80% of your accounts, here are your top 95% of your accounts.
80% in terms of sales volume. So you
sales volume,
sales volume and said, here's your list, okay?
Right. So then we said to the reps, okay, going into the new year, into 2021, it's very important that you touch those customers that you have relationships with, that you actually know how to, can go to them and say, this is what I want you to do. Here's what you did in the past. And really, I'm so fortunate to have, not only reps sales reps that listen, but also that go beyond that and really do diligently the things that are important to grow their business in their territory. So we said to them 30,
Dennis,
60.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in because I don't want anyone to miss this, because this was remarkable. You gave them the 30 days to talk with this top 80% of their dollars, which you said was typically 35 to 45 accounts. While we were talking, you ran a report to see how much the sales to that 80%, to those 35 to 45 customers across all your reps had grown compared to, I think it was 2019, which was your last kind of full year. What was that percentage?
Well, in looking at 2019, that 80% grew by about 20% over from 20 to 2019 So even during COVID, that was still growing.
And then in 2021?
2021, we are actually, I reran the report today, up 96% with our top 80% of our accounts. And more importantly, our order counts are up 63% with those customers. So it's really critical to look at where does the money come from, who are the customers you have relationships to, and then how can you expand those customers into not buying just one line, but multiple lines, multiple vendors.
When Dennis told me this number, we're all chasing different pieces, right? In the second 30 days, going after that additional 15%, and then certainly talk about what you do in the 90. But having the reps focus on where the business was and really give that attention there, doubled. So took that $80 and turned it into $160. That's worth the price of admission right there, right? Yet, sales isn't a homework assignment. The job isn't to talk to everybody. The job is to make more sales, right? If you can sell $10 billion to one customer, make your sale and retire, right? That's, the whole point. So when Dennis told me that he, clear out the noise and focus there, I thought that was fabulous. Tell us about the 60 and the 90 days.
Well, the 60 is basically going from that 80% to that 95%, is to making sure in that period that you not only have touched those 80% of customers, but also you've now reached further and touched then that 95%. And then after the 60 days, you basically want to go rinse and repeat, where you then go back and you look at not only the people that you've seen, but then there's where you look for new opportunities, new customers, maybe people that have kind of gone by the wayside, or squirrels that show up that all of a sudden, your head turns attention to. And I love the fact that Michelle mentioned about, the different classes of trade, because no doubt COVID has sort of made it known that, essential business, pharmacies, garden centers, hardware stores, grocery stores are all critical and all pieces of the puzzle. But, and we've seen the same thing. Our garden center business is through the roof, and we're fortunate to have lines like Regal Art and Gift, which I, have to mention because, my girlfriend works there. But it's also, this kid's smiling over there. But it's also, it falls right in line with why it is important to go to the customers that you have relationships with, because then therein lies that ability to leverage the knowledge that you have and the experience that you have with those customers and say, you know what, I really want you to carry this. I really want you to buy this. And it's also going into now with the issues that we're having with product shipments, is you're able to go back to those customers and say, don't put ship dates on your orders. Take it as soon as possible. We want to back up your orders for the second half of the year.
Yeah, this was something that came up yesterday, and you mentioned it also, that you went so far as to say to your retailers, what is it that they should do to make sure they have more space?
They should rent out storage areas. Like literally, if to make
so
sure you have product
now. Yeah.
They can take it now. Don't now.
That's remarkable. Okay, we only have a couple of minutes. There's one other piece, Dennis, that was really interesting. Talk a bit about custom product.
Custom product. Well, you know, we all are experiential now, and custom has really grown as a category. Some of our manufacturers that are offering custom technology has made it so much easier now to do. It's not as scary for retailers because they don't have to buy 1,440 items anymore. They can do them in very small quantities. And we've seen our custom business just go through the roof because of the fact that people aren't traveling as far. They want to get an experience. If they're going to Traverse City, Michigan, they want to get something from Traverse City. Well, you're able to do it. Or if they're going to a campground, they want to get something that has a campground on it. So I'd say to everybody, you know, encourage your vendors that can do custom, that can pivot into that category. They will definitely be rewarded for it.
Very cool. Okay, so first of all, thank you. We're coming up to the hour. We're going to go a couple of minutes over just to answer some questions that are out there. I know this was where, because all of you were writing notes while each other was talking, so we had some great content. Thank you all for sharing so much. We have a couple of questions here that I wanted to get to. Kim, how do you see the manufacturers using the QR codes in your showroom? Or is it you doing it on their behalf?
We did it on their behalf. So when we put up the information sheets or the information pages for each of the vendors that list where they're shipped from, their minimum, their reorder, you know, just all the critical data, then we would include the QR code on that information. So we have generated all that we've worked on.
And they can get that information into their phone. Okay, very cool.
Correct.
Okay, next
along
question.
with the catalog, along with the link, along with other information that you can expand greatly.
Sure, you can, because you can keep changing it. That's the difference from print. You can just keep changing it.
Right.
Okay, if anyone, I'm going to come back to this question, but for right now, we had a question which was, what does the panel see as the next trend category? Start thinking about that. We'll get to the next one. Linda Coulson, my friend from Mary Meyer, has asked if a vendor created a short presentation of their product line. Would your rep send links of that to their customers, or is the point that the rep is talking to the customer?
I love short presentations from vendors, and I'm talking short.
How long?
A minute or less. A minute or less.
Okay.
So you can do it in categories. The problem is you lose people's attention after too long. Like, you know, we've probably lost everybody's attention now.
Actually, we've only lost 8 people from the beginning. We're at like 96% attendance still, but people are going to have appointments, so they have to run. We had a question from Angela Reinhardt. How do you find Facebook retailers? How do you find the retailers on Facebook? How does the search work? Cliff, that's for you.
I mean, I think just searching on Instagram and Facebook are the 2 main areas.
By like town, or?
You can do it by town. You can do it by category. You know, I think those are probably the best ways to do it.
Okay, so as we go out the door, any ideas about trends that are coming soon that you think are coming? Michelle, what do you got?
Oh my goodness.
You weren't ready for that one, or is that Barbie's job?
It wasn't. That, you know what? That is 100% Barbie night.
Barbie's job. Okay, you get okay, you get a pass. You get a pass.
Thank you.
Kim?
I left my crystal ball in my office, but I could run get it if I need to.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to piggyback a bit on what Dennis said, and I think it's customized product. I think it's product that has meaning, and it's probably domestic product.
Yeah, which is something that Cliff and I covered as well. Domestic product for some of the obvious reasons, although raw materials are now becoming a problem for domestic suppliers as well. Cliff, what do you got?
I would say I'm most excited about 2 new domestic vendors. You know, we are all running into challenges with import product, and you know, I really like the idea of. I really hope that's a trend for the future, and we will start seeing more product made here in the U.S.
Cool. Dennis?
You know, I talked about custom, but, you know, one of the other trends that I'm really seeing right now, and this is due to my daughter, is vintage. Everything vintage is in. And she has an online site that she's selling vintage clothing, vintage everything, and it is very popular right now. So
Vintage and reproduction vintage, or?
yes.
Okay, cool. Sandy, what do you got? Oh, wait. We can't hear you, Sandy. Hold on a second. We should be able to hear you. You're not muted. Hi, Sandy. Yeah. What do you got?
Okay, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm kind of going for the local vendors, local product, American made. I
But
think that's
specifically local.
yeah, and also we picked up a couple of lines that have these recently that are both American made, both local to New England, and also they have some sort of a give back thing to them, whatever, 1% to the planet, or
Yeah.
it's being packed by people with disabilities, or
Sure.
10% of this is going for the forestry or whatever.
Sure.
People like that. People kind of like that whole,
Yeah,
give
and
back.
there's a greater sense of community now than ever because we're kind of all in this together. So I think that's there. All right. Well,
Yeah.
to my talented panel here, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Cliff.
Michelle, nice seeing you. I've never seen you before. I've seen you on, around, but I haven't really met you, so.
Well, this is great. Let's do it again sometime. And everybody have a great show season. If I don't see you, hopefully I'll be out there on the road. Thanks for everybody watching back at home. And there'll be a recording of this, the automatic link that's going to be sent out to everybody, so you can share that with anyone that you want to. Thank you all so much for your time, and
Thank you.
have a good day.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you,
Happy
Ari.
Memorial Day,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Y'all
Nice
too.
meeting everybody. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.